Tonight on Greater Boston, Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay law is just one of hundreds of anti-LGBTQ proposals across the country. Several Republican governors and state lawmakers are leading the charge, but other members of the party are worried, not about the negative effect on kids, but on voters. Washington Post White House reporter Linskey joins me. Then later, two local biotech leaders trying to bridge the diversity gap in their industry. And finally, Boston restaurateur Tiffany Faison joins me, fresh off her win on the Food Network's Tournament of Champions. When the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide in 2015, many, for some reason, believed things were settled, with even the highest court agreeing that love is love, and families can come in all different shapes and sizes. But now, enter Florida. While most politicians say they're doing whatever they're doing for the kids, Governor Ron DeSantis does it to the kids, signing into law last month a ban on any discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in schools with kids before 4th grade. So if 8-year-old Susie, for example, has two moms in Florida, I guess she now gets to have mom and a close friend. And while many have come to know it as the Don't Say Gay bill, which seems pretty accurate to me, DeSantis has been pushing to rebrand it, calling it an anti-grooming bill, grotesquely accusing Democrats who support the LGBTQ community of being or supporting pedophiles looking to sexually groom young children.
They have to lie, because if they admitted what they were really for, sexualizing kindergartners and first graders, they know that would not fly with the public.
It's a sadistic playbook the sadistic DeSantis seems to have thought up after watching the campaign of now Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who beat out former Governor Terry McAuliffe in 2020, in great part thanks to this one key debate moment.
I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
About 6 months later, Youngkin signed a bill into law that gives parents the right to review any, quote, sexually explicit materials before their kids read them in school, which includes a wide range of material. And these bills are just two of more than 230 pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation filed across the country just this year alone, according to data from the ACLU. But while some members of the GOP are crusading for these proposals, as Washington Post White House reporter Linskey writes, some party strategists worry that the initiatives may backfire with moderate voters. Linskey joins me now. Before the Post, she was the lead reporter on Democrats for the Boston Globe's Washington bureau during the 2016 election. It's great to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Good to see you, too.
So some in the GOP are soul-searching, I guess you should say vote-searching, because they're worried about the possible negative impact of this. What are they worried about? That this is too cruel, which it is, by the way. Is that what they're worried about?
Well, I think what they're worried about is, just the very comments you made at the open of the segment here, which is they saw how public opinion changed and how their party was left out over the marriage equality debate. That issue moved very quickly in the American public from, Americans being not comfortable with it, not knowing very much about it, to really sort of it feeling, polling showing that people on both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly support marriage equality. And so there are some Republican strategists who are looking at this current debate that is more focused around trans issues, but is still also obviously impacts gay and lesbian parents and kids, and thinking to themselves, wow, is this something that could also go the same way that marriage went, to where we are suddenly going to be staking out a position that we're going to very quickly need to walk back out of? So that's where the concern is among strategists. It's in this sort of medium term.
And who came up with this crackpot notion that if you support gay rights or trans rights, you are all of a sudden grooming who? You're a groomer if you support this, according to Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, that's sort of very new language that's coming from the right. There have been some strategists that I've talked to who said that it's a little in an effort to divide, drive a wedge between various factions within the LGBT community, that, it provides an ability for more conservative, gay voters to sort of separate themselves from the larger community. I'm not sure if I believe that, but that's one way that's been described to me. But there's very clearly a change in rhetoric that even Republicans have been caught flat-footed by. I mean, I was really struck in talking to the Log Cabin Republicans.
Yeah.
This is a group of Republicans who support gay rights, and they were saying to me that they were utterly unprepared for this conversation this year. They had not planned on, ramping up their analysis of state legislation, because they just even Republican groups did not see this wave coming, but it certainly is coming. And, the country is in the midst of it right now. And over the next few weeks and months, you're going to see additional states take up very similar legislation.
Obviously you were writing about the concern about the political impact. Did anybody you talked to worry about the life impact on some of the most vulnerable kids in this country? Did anybody even raise that as an issue?
There are some Republicans who are doing that, particularly the governor of Utah, when he vetoed somewhat similar legislation in his state, a Republican governor, saying that, look, this is an issue that is impacting, to your point, the very most vulnerable community. But this is a minority view among Republicans. I mean, I'm actually out here in Ohio working on a story about the Senate race. And Republicans here in this state are very eager to discuss this issue, and they feel that they know all about it, and their heart is not with the kids and the trans community. In the way this debate is being framed, Republican primary voters are very energized by it.
Well, okay, so it's fine to attack vulnerable kids. Is it okay to attack big, powerful institutions like Disney, like Ron DeSantis is doing? My assumption is that is a bridge too far. No?
Well, I think that there is a sort of divide in the Republican Party. I mean, the sort of Chamber of Commerce, more traditional Republican would say no, that is a bridge too far. And there are some donors that I've talked to and some Republicans who say, look, we do not want to be seen suddenly as the party that is against jobs, that is going to stall economic growth, which, there are some who say that could happen in Central Florida because of this decision. Jobs from Disney, already Governor Newsom from California is saying, look, you could send some of your jobs over to our state. We're not going to be, using the tax code as retribution in California the way that it's being used in Florida. But there is also another strain in the Republican Party that it does not have the same sort of respect for institutions. And there's been this alienation among Republican voters who believe less and less in institutions, and that is government, that is education, and that is also big business.
I'm so glad you quoted Ralph Reed, and I remember him when he was probably the most prominent conservative Christian voice in America, and now he's one of many. But he made a point that I was thinking about as I'm reading your piece, even though he made it better than I would have. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. If Youngkin was the jumping off point and Republicans learned this parental thing is a big one for us, instead of attacking their children, particularly the most vulnerable children, talk about school choice. Talk about, he didn't say this, I'm saying it, public funding for parochial schools or something like that that doesn't have as a target, again, these kids. Is anybody besides Ralph Reed thinking that?
Yeah, I believe, Ralph Reed, of course, sort of the strategist behind the Christian Coalition, a founder of some very influential groups on the right. He's speaking for quite a large number of other Republicans who want to see the energy and the organizing power behind this movement to for what they call, for school choice, for charter schools, and to move that energy towards a sort of fundamental change in the public education system. He is not as eager for this conversation to move into like an anti-trans and an anti-gay debate. There are, others in the party that are more comfortable with that, but what Ralph Reed is saying is that, look, this is where I believe the energy should go, and where he is directing a significant and a very influential part of the party into the direction of saying, look, the end game here should be school choice. And, he's not saying that, a debate over gay rights isn't coming. I think he does see that coming. But in this instance, he thinks that the better course for the party is to move it towards school choice.
Since you're in Ohio, make sure if you see J.D. Vance, you tell him I hated hillbilly elegy. Good to see you, Annie Linskey.
Good to see you.
Take care of yourself. Over the past several years, the biotech industry has become a cornerstone of the Boston area economy. But once again, not all opportunities are created equal. As a recent Boston Globe op-ed points out, the persistent lack of diversity in STEM fields poses a problem for Black and brown residents looking to take advantage of these new employment opportunities. A Pew Research survey recently found that nationally, Black and Hispanic employees make up 28% of the U.S. workforce, but only 17% of STEM employees. And back here in Massachusetts, a Mass Biotech Council survey found last year that while Black and Latino people make up 31% of the state's population, they comprise just 15% of the biopharma workforce. It's a big problem that requires a big team and even bigger will to address it. Joining me are two of the co-authors of that Globe piece, Richard Taylor, longtime developer, former State Secretary of Transportation under Bill Weld, now Managing Director of Nubian Square Life Science Training Center. Gretchen Cook Anderson is the Executive Director of LabCentral Ignite, which works to address racial and gender underrepresentation in the life sciences. It's great to have you here. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, Jerry.
Gretchen, let me start with you. The numbers are really bad. If we can put up again the Massachusetts numbers, you see Black and Latino percentage of the population, twice its representation in biopharma. If you and others weren't shining a spotlight on these things, would these firms even care about this diversity issue?
Well, I'd like to think that they should. So whether they would be, I don't know, I can't really answer, but I'd like to argue that they should. And I think it's an imperative on industry to do so for its own sake. There's the social justice piece. There is the access to a need for more access and opportunity, especially for folks in the Black and brown communities. But at the end of the day, this is also about the imperative for industry in this state.
Well, and also every survey I've ever seen says diversity is good for the bottom line. It's not just good for the soul or morality. I want to stay on the negative just for a second, Richard, if I can, and then I'll try to get a little more positive. A reporter at GBH did a story that's where that poll came from, on biopharma diversity. More than half of the firms in the field had issued diversity statements, but less than half of that I think it was 24%, had a diversity dashboard, meaning we'll say the right thing, but we're not going to do anything to track it or allow anybody else to track what we're doing. That, to me, is not a very positive statement. Is it to you?
No, it isn't. But I believe, as Gretchen just noted, the demand for the jobs has to push them to look where the talent is. And the reality of Boston is the Black and brown population significantly increases, and that is where the trained talent is. However, it has to be a priority as it has been in the real estate development field. Equity, diversity has been pushed out the last 5 years through this Massport model. A similar model must be developed with the life sciences sector.
Massport model meaning to get a contract, you got to have a certain commitment in writing around the diversity of those with whom you're going to do business, right? No,
active players, co-developers.
Active players in the leadership of the thing. You're totally right.
Capital stack investors.
So
design. Same thing has to apply to this industry.
So, Richard, beyond that, who has to do what to get us from here to there, beyond that model you're just describing?
Well, Gretchen and I have been working on a model that includes the following. First, there needs to be broad outreach to educate both the STEM teachers, the guidance counselors, and the young people that these careers are available to them without a PhD in chemistry, number one. Number two, those jobs also pay very good jobs and get you on the career ladder. But number three, the industry must also invest in training centers so we can train and scale up the talent.
Well, we had the president, relatively new president of Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology, and we talked about their relationship with Dearborn Tech, and obviously Benjamin Franklin Cummings is moving to Nubian Square. How about you, Gretchen? Who's got to do what other than what Richard has talked about so far?
Well, I like to say industry, industry, industry. I really do think that the onus is on industry to really act here. But it is a coordinated effort, which was Richard's point, and it's our point collectively. This is about government. It's about the city, state, city, our schools, our teachers, our community leaders. It really is a collective effort here.
So what does government do? What is government? I mean, Charlie Baker was at that groundbreaking for Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute the other day. What does the state have to do, Gretchen?
Additional funding. Now, there already is, there's a good deal of funding. I like to say that there's been a lot of support from folks like Ken Turner at MLSC, Massachusetts Life Science Center, and others, but it's not enough. We still need more funding in order to really onboard the kind of training opportunities that are going to bring the workforce, that the industry needs.
How long of a turnaround time, Richard, if a significant number of the things that both of you and your colleagues say need doing were to be done? What is the time frame to get us to the point where there is a fair representation of people of color in these industries?
Like many things, I think this is a 5-year journey because we have to fund training centers. We must introduce the opportunity to young people, and we must scale up the training. We can start, though, with Ben Franklin, RCC, GMGI, the work that Gretchen is doing, the work that we're doing. There's another training center being planned in the Pavilion in the Seaport, as well as the Beat with the old Globe building. There needs to be money invested in lab equipment, as well as the facilities in order to scale up. And as Ginkgo Bioworks and Ben Franklin Cummings did, they signed an agreement to train in biotechnology, and that company will hire all those that graduate. We need more and more companies stepping up to say, if you train this curriculum, we will hire.
Gretchen, when I introduced you, I said it's not only questions of race, but gender that you address. My reading suggests that the representation of women in these fields has dramatically increased in the last couple of years. Still has a way to go, but a pretty dramatic increase. You're nodding, so I assume you agree. Why have we made so much progress on the gender front and such little on the race front?
Well, I do think that industry has had a role in that. I think that, you've seen a number of organizations sprout up, not only here, but across the country to support cultivation of women in this industry. Women ourselves, we have stepped up to demand more in the industry, both at every level, at all roles, C-suite, board level, and every other role from entry level on. But industry has also provided support and additional funding. And I think that the same thing is going to have to happen if we're going to see a groundswell difference when it comes to racial representation.
Richard, I only have 30 seconds left. This is a variation on your Massport theme. I had Jeffrey Sonnenfeld from Yale Management School here the other night, who did that brilliant work in the New York Times saying which companies are withdrawing from Russia, which are staying in Russia, that kind of thing. Why don't you guys do a comparable thing about firms in biotech and essentially urge the consumers, corporate consumers and others, these are the firms you should patronize and do business with, these are the ones you should not, based upon their scorecard here? You have 15 seconds.
I think that's a great opportunity. We can certainly work with Mass Bio, Gretchen and I, to actually do something like that. Those report card on who's in and who's out is very, very helpful and also tells the tale.
Richard and Gretchen, I'm really glad to see you both, and I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing. Thanks so much for your time.
Jim, thank you very much for having me. It's much appreciated.
Boston foodies have known the culinary magic of chef and restaurateur Tiffany Faison for many a year. with Sweet Cheeks Q, Fool's Errand, and Orfano in the Fenway area. Tiger Mama soon to reemerge as something new. Plus, her latest trifecta in the High Street Place Food Hall downtown, dive bar, tenderonis, and bubble bath. And now a nation of foodies know her as a champion, too, after having just beaten out 31 of America's best chefs to win Guy Fieri's Tournament of Champions on the Food Network. Check out this greeting between the two finalists. Watch this.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Ready to go down?
Ready to go. Good luck to you.
Down. I said go down.
No.
I'm so tired of coming in second. I can't.
The winner of the Tournament of Champions between B-Dub, Chef Brooke Williamson, and Sweet Tea, Chef Tiffany Faison, is... Tiffany Faison! Tiffany Faison wins!
Ready to go down, she says. She adds that to her resume alongside 4 James Beard nominations for Best Chef in the Northeast, Boston Magazine's 2016 Best Chef Award, among others. Tiffany Faison joins me now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is this 30-pound thing that I'm holding? You wear this everywhere, I'm told, yes?
No.
Yes, you do. What is
Okay,
it?
I do. Picked up a little medal on the street.
What is it?
It's my Tournament of Champions belt from the 3rd season win.
So I watched this thing this weekend, and I think it's fair to say the other 3 semifinalists were tough competitors. They really wanted to win. There was that, and then you are by far the most competitive person I've ever seen in that kind of setting. Is that a fair statement?
Brooke Williamson is very, we're all super, like Jet's amazing, Brooke's amazing, Tobias is great, he's amazing. Everyone's really competitive, and by the time you get to that point, after 32, you want it.
Excuse me, who said ready to go down? Was that you?
I gotta watch my mouth.
Okay, so I'm watching, they have this thing, if you didn't see the show, there's something called a randomizer,
Yeah.
which says what's the protein, what's the this, what's the that. So you had to do in the final thing, a rabbit with natto using an anti-griddle, to which I said as a viewer, what the
What's
hell
an
is natto on an anti-griddle?
Right.
What is natto?
Natto is fermented Japanese soybeans, so
course
essentially
it
like
is.
stringy, and it's like halfway between snot and tape.
What's a beautifully put, what's an anti-griddle?
Anti-griddle is a surface that reaches like below, I think it's 300 degrees on the surface of it. It does nothing but make rolled ice cream, so it's very hard to work with.
That's pretty great. What are you doing with 100 grand? You won 100 grand.
I
for
did.
those
I
who
won
don't-
100
What are
grand.
you doing with it?
I don't know, but I'm saving to buy a house.
Okay, so the host, by the way, of this thing, who is great, I have to say, is Guy Fieri.
Yep.
Have you been to his new restaurant on Tremont Street?
I have.
Yeah, you need an EMT with you, don't you think? I mean, it is the richest food. You ever eaten with this guy?
Guy's food is exactly the way Guy Fieri is. He's unapologetic. It's bold. It's in your face.
Bold in your face and in your mouth. So in the last couple of months, you have this. You're the national, I mean, this is huge. I know you know this. I didn't have to tell you that. You're a James Beard finalist from the Northeast. Only 2 from the Boston area, Rebel in the wine category, and you in this thing. 3 new places at High Street Place?
High Street Place, yeah.
High Street, we're going to talk about that in just a second. But how is business coming out of this pandemic?
Some places are succeeding, and some places are a little slower to come back. So I don't think anyone has one consistent answer to it. It's sort of, it's business, and it's goods and services, and it's inflation. The price of things walking in the door is so much higher than it's ever been for us when we can even get the things that we need. Hiring continues to be harder than it ever has, and so it's a really competitive market. So labor's high, goods and services are high, rent's high.
But did you enjoy this for at least a day or
Oh,
something?
for 2 weeks.
Okay,
well, we filmed
fine.
it over 2 weeks. It looks
Oh,
like
you
it's
did.
8 weeks, but it's 2.
Okay, so let's talk High Street Place.
Street Place.
Okay, I haven't been there yet. I've been to all your Fenway places a million times, as you well know.
Yes.
So the champagne is there. I love this concept. Bubble Bath
Yes.
is the name of the joint.
Right.
And champagne's in a vending machine?
Yes, we have a vending machine full of the little Moet splits. So you buy a token from us, you go put your token in, and you bring it back to us. We open it, and you walk around with your champagne.
And you shove in a hot dog or popcorn,
Or
which is
popcorn.
also what you have
My
there.
favorite foods. So
Mine too, by the way.
Champagne, hot dog, popcorn.
Okay,
Yeah.
next to that, I could figure that. This is tenderoni, because this is a pizza joint. What's the deal?
So for me, it was about creating a pizza that's kind of signature to what I wanted out of it. A little bit of Pizza Hut vibes, some Detroit style. I wanted burnt, crispy parm edges around the entire surface. That's why they're 2.5 feet long. So it's got this like late 70s, early 80s vibe to it.
Where's this thing? This is horrible. I'm eating on TV, and it's got a crunchy sound. I apologize, everybody. What is this thing?
That's Ono Grind. So
Oh
that's
my
our answer
God.
to pineapple pizza. It's got roasted jalapenos, roasted pineapple, beautiful ham. The one you're about to put in your mouth is
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. So it's the signature tenderoni, little roni cups, Parmesan, burnt parm all the way around
Do I have
it.
to cleanse my palate in between?
No,
or just go
it's
right?
pizza. I can hand you some champagne if you want it. And then the last one is cheese. It's 3 different types of cheeses: Taleggio, Gorgonzola, Parmesan with mushrooms and pesto.
I ate some of the clam chowder before, excuse me, a mouthful. That's dive bar, fabulous.
Thank you.
And this is, what are these things? Also
Cold
dive
and
bar.
hot lobster rolls, exactly. So we have dueling lobster rolls. So the menu at Dive Bar is essentially like half New England, and then the other half is going into a more southern direction. So these are kind of classic New England lobster rolls for the cold, and then the hot is a lobster butter, so a rich lobster butter that we make with lobster tossed into that. So it's like double down lobster.
Can I tell you, it's about the best pizza I ever ate, by the way.
Thank
I mean,
you.
it's really.
It's cold.
Why is it so much better? Why is it so good? I mean
The burnt parm doesn't hurt. So we
my
really worked
God.
on that crust, the dough, forever and ever and ever. I wanted it to be chewy and also tender, and I wanted it to be kind of a little bit fatty, have some pull to it. I wanted it to be super craveable.
And how is High Street doing? I mean, I hear it's packed all the time.
It's packed
right?
all the time.
Back to
Yeah,
time.
it's doing really, really well. So, and we were nervous about it. I made the deal 3 years ago, and then, right as we were about to open, literally the week before was when we shut down, when everything shut down. So the financial district has been, as we know, like it's been challenging for that area of town. And I just thought, oof, like, are people going to come back? And they're there, and they're populating all of our stalls.
So
which is
what's with
great.
you in competition? I mean, you're really into the. I mean, I want to get back to that for a second. And by the way, you're right. Everybody was competitive, even though, despite what you say, you were like here and they were there. If I didn't make that point already.
Yeah.
But But this is, needless to say, not your first. You made the point in that clip.
Right.
I'm sick of coming in second. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what is the appeal? Why not just have great restaurants and succeed? What is the appeal of the competition?
Good question. I mean, I think I'm just naturally masochistic in a lot of ways. But there is something about competition cooking, and I think we're starting to recognize that competition cooking is a different category. It's different than being a chef in a restaurant. A lot of the qualities of being a good chef in a restaurant help you in competition cooking, but it is really just like all the distractions are gone. It is you and whoever you're cooking against and the challenge, and it's go. And there's nothing more fun or rewarding or challenging, and we're all gluttons for it, and it's really addictive.
Was there a point at which, I mean, all those categories, again, I can't remember them all, but again, half the stuff I never even heard of the term, as I say. Were there moments in the competition where you say to yourself, I don't even know what to do with that thing, and you just developed it as, and by the way, it's like 45 to 60 minutes to prepare, in this case, 3 dishes with rabbit.
It was 60 minutes for this one,
60,
so
whatever.
1 ingredient, 3 ways. And then some of the rounds are 30 minutes. No, that's never happened. That's the fear.
I believe you just crossed yourself.
I did.
Okay,
That's the
thank
fear, is that at some point, whether it's, Tournament of Champions or I'm competing on like Beat the Judge on Chopped or something, that the challenge comes or the basket opens or the randomizer stops and I just blank and it doesn't come. I have nightmares about that. It's never happened.
The most
yet.
important question is, how'd you get this thing through the TSA on the way back?
They shipped it to me.
They shipped it to
Yes.
you. It weighs like 30 pounds.
It's the real belt. Like the company that makes that belt started following me on Instagram because I didn't know who made it, and I started scrolling through, and it's literally all the WWF, WWE belts. It's the real belt.
Raise your right hand.
Yes.
Say that you do not. No, raise your right
What?
hand. You
No.
do not parade around your house with this thing on.
Oh,
I
I
know
don't
you
parade
do.
around my house.
Yes, you do.
I do not.
You do not put it on and then
Well,
run
now
around the
I
house?
might. Maybe now.
In all seriousness, congratulations. The
Thank you.
champion of the Tournament of Champions. And all this is fabulous. I
Thank
can't wait
you.
to finish things up. Tiffany, it's great to see you.
It's so nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. That's it for tonight. Please come back tomorrow. The journalist behind a troubling new Boston Globe report into New Hampshire's state-run juvenile detention center, where hundreds of survivors say staffers brutally beat and in some cases sexually assaulted them. That and more tomorrow at 7. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe.